I'm going to start this video off with my pickup. Now that oil pan gasket I've showed you for the past few days is the wrong one. That's it looks like it's a bigger engine, maybe a V8, maybe like a 350 or something like that. It looks like the wrong one. Somebody wants to offer me $40 for it. I'll sell it to him for that. Otherwise, I probably send it back. I got it from Amazon. Now I'm guessing the Chinese are bad about measuring stuff or putting the right part in the right box. I don't know, but I've had that a handful of times. Stuff on Amazon that was the wrong item. But anyway, I bought the right pan gasket from O'Reilly's yesterday. I also got the rear seal. I've got that installed, and a friend of mine said, but what I normally do when I put on a seal, I oil the surfaces, so that they've got a fighting chance once you get them together. They won't tear up real quick. Now, a friend of mine, was looking at the instructions. She goes, "Did you read these? Did you read these instructions?" I said, "Well, I very, very rarely read instructions unless I find something interesting." He said, "These instructions are saying put that seal on dry. There's some type of PTFE chemical in there, but if you put oil on there, it'll mess the chemicals up." So I said, "Well, probably have to pull that back off again, poke that seal off, go get another seal, and then install that." So that leaves me kind of high and dry for this morning. Well, I'm gonna flip the engine over and then do the valve covers. I'm gonna pull them off, clean them up real good, and then put the new gaskets on the valve covers. The ones I've got here, also off of Amazon, look like they're the right size. They look like they'll fit. I'll find that out here in a few hours. I'm looking outside. It's windy right now, and it's still kind of cool. I do have a sweater on, but the sweater's getting kind of warm. By the time I finish this video, it should be nice. You know where I can go outside in my dirty work clothes and work a little bit. I went ahead and changed all the freeze plugs, so I've got all brass freeze plugs in there. I can't do too much on the lower end until I try to get a new seal in there. I'll make sure I install this one properly. Anyway, a friend of mine that's been driving me around to go get parts, she's tied up on something this morning. This afternoon, she'll take me over to to get a seal. Anyway, that's what I'll do. So I probably won't have my pickup ready, running it, maybe tomorrow afternoon. It takes several hours to, once you get everything all together, put the engine in there, bolt everything up. It's just a fairly lengthy process to put everything all back together, especially on a fuel-injected engine. You got a lot more wires on there. Like if you had an old car with points on there, that was just a couple wires on there. But anyway, that's my plan for this morning. Now I could, once I get the valve covers, I've got a bunch of these little CB radios. I could hook up a few of these and see which one of these. As I remember, I tested some of these worked, some of them didn't. But I've had these for years and years. So most of these I found at Goodwill for $2 or $3, something like that. They're just stuff that I've had for a long time. So these are all either 23 or 40 channel AM radios. None of these are sideband radios. If it was a 40 channel sideband radio, I would have set it aside, and if it didn't work, I would have tried to fix it. It would have been worth putting a little bit of money into fixing. If some of these don't work, I'll probably just junk them, save them for the parts and stuff, switches and little speaker and stuff in there, because they're not worth a whole hell of a lot if they don't work. Unless somebody wants to give me a few bucks for my for my junk CB radios. If somebody's into fixing old CB radios and wants to buy my junkers for a few bucks, hey, let me know. Next thing I want to cover, I was listening to Y-Files, WHY Y-Files last night. A lot of times I'll go to sleep with Y-Files on, and he was talking this latest video. Oh, I can't think of his name. The guy that not TJ. I remember Hecklefish. Hecklefish is one of the other main character on there. But anyway, the latest one he was talking about NDEs, near-death experiences. He's covered that 2 or 3 times, and I've always find people's accounts of NDEs some of the most fascinating stories. There's some similarities. There's some differences. You can find some very significant differences in some people. I mean, some people will go to heaven. Some people see Jesus. Some people see passed on loved ones. Some people actually go to hell. Some people actually have a hell type of experience in their NDEs. But anyway, I guess no matter what the experience is, I find it very, very interesting. Now, some of the real skeptics will say, well, that's just the brain. That's just the brain's way of dealing with a death type of experience. But I'm of the opinion that I think this is all real. I think people's accounts are very true. And you can have people that are complete atheists that don't, that believe that we're just biological meat puppets. We're just there's no soul. Is I'm not of that belief system, but you do find these complete hardcore atheists that after they have an NDE, after they have this this death experience, their life is completely turned around. Their life experience, they completely change their belief system. I mean, they may not become hardcore Christians, but they believe that they suddenly believe that we have a soul in afterlife. I'm not saying that they instantly start becoming church members, but their attitude toward life is completely changed. I'm not saying everybody has a life changing experience, but I think a lot of people. No, I've always believed that we have a soul, but I think if I did have an NDE, if I were a hardcore skeptic and had an NDE, I think it would probably have a profound change in my life. But anyway, asking how many of my viewers have had an NDE, how many of my viewers have had experience. Now, I've had what they call these visitation dreams. Now, where you have an experience with a passed on loved one. I had one with with a girlfriend of mine that had died a number of years ago. I had a visitation dream like that, and I find those very, very interesting. And quite a few people have visitation dreams. I mean, they don't have a near death experience, but they dream of a particular loved one that they're meeting up with. And a lot of us New Agers, of us into metaphysics, believe that as our soul leaves our body every night, that we're actually going out into the astral realm, and you are actually meeting up with that individual. You're doing a soul to soul. The only difference between a living human being and a ghost, a passed on individual, is that we humans that are still breathing air have when we go out at night, we have a living body to return to, and the ghosts don't. The ghosts have given up their body. That's mine and a lot of people's beliefs. But anyway, it's something that I had never heard of before. I guess it's a term coined by Raymond Moody. Now, if you're serious into Raymond Moody is one of these guys that have been, he pioneered a lot of NDE stuff, but there's a term that it's a shared death experience. Now, let me give you one example that the guy from Y-Files was, referring to last night, in the video that I was watching. What I call shared death experience. Let's say an individual is on the operating table. Let's say there was a car wreck. The guy is on the operating table. He's getting he's getting surgery to repair his damage from the auto wreck. His wife and one daughter was killed in the wreck. But anyway, the doctor for performing the operation sees a soul, the astral body of the passed on wife hanging above the body of her husband. The doctor actually witnesses this. This is what Raymond Moody referred to as a shared death experience, where that an individual will see the astral body of the individual that has passed on. Of course, the wife was too far injured, to return to life. She couldn't be saved, so she is there as a ghost, as a soul. That's a term I had never heard before, a shared death experience. Apparently, that's fairly common. I said I hadn't heard of it before. I have seen people see ghosts. I have, heard of people seeing, still living individuals in their astral body. You'll periodically see people seeing the ghost of an individual that they know, in their astral body. And, like the guy that sees his wife, late at night, slowly floating down the hallway. And he said, "Well, what's going on here? Why am I seeing a ghost of my wife?" He sees, this astral form, slowly go through the bedroom wall, and then open the door and find his wife peacefully sleeping. All she was doing was just her soul leaving the body. And I think a lot of ghosts are still living individuals in their astral body. It's just, mine and quite a few other people that are into this, their belief system. Now, the last thing I want to cover. Now, these are all subjects, all completely unrelated, just stuff off the top of my head, as I often do. But anyway, I watched, now on my phone, I haven't downloaded this video. I just watched it off my phone. It's for Vice Grip Garage. It's Derek that had bought him a motorhome. He does doing the video by himself. You don't see his cute skinny wife or his kiddos. He'd bought him a this motorhome, an older motorhome. Was going out. I'm gonna relate to a story of some work I did for a guy. That it was here, but he had bought it on the West Coast. He was driving it cross country, and I guess this guy really wasn't much of a mechanic. Now he had me look at the air conditioner. He'd parked in. He'd rented a motel room, and this was many years ago. He parked in the parking lot of a motel room. He'd already lost one tire. He'd bought it somewhere on the West Coast, made it here to I live in Avondale. It's just west of Phoenix. He got it maybe 400 or 500 miles. I had one tire shred, and I don't get why people, if he's not a mechanic. Now, if you're a mechanic, if you know how to wrench on stuff, that's one thing. If you're going to buy something and don't know what's got to break on it, don't know what's going to fall off, you're certainly could experience some problems. I don't think he changed his own tire. I think he probably had to actually pay somebody to come out and change the tire. He was looking to find a tire shop to, mount another tire on the rim of the shredded tire. And for me personally, I think I would drive something around for a few days and see what's going to fall off, see what's going to break first before I drove it cross country. Keep it close to home. Of course, his home was on the East Coast. He was driving it cross country. Now, I'd worked on the air conditioner on this thing. It was like with those Coleman and dual therm, something like that. But anyway, Derek. I said if Derek had, if I could stand camping with him. No, I don't know if I could stand camping. I love watching the guy's videos, but I don't think we're two individuals that would have fun camping together. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I never camped with another guy before. If I was going to camp with somebody, I'd prefer to camp with a cute chick. But anyway. So most of the stuff on there, those little 12-volt DC propane furnaces. Yeah, I've worked on quite a few of those over the years. I know how they work. The fridges, those absorption refrigerators that have the little gas flame in there. Yeah, I know how to work on those things. The systems on there. Apparently, he didn't have too much trouble with those, though. That 12-volt DC inverter that had fried on you, I probably could have dug through there and figured out what fried and created all the smoke and stuff. But anyway, about 2/3 of the way through the video, I fell asleep. Sorry, Derek, I don't find you boring, but I'm just sleepy and fell asleep listening to your video on my phone. I woke up and he was putting another exhaust system on there. He just caught a few minutes of that, fell back to sleep again. Next thing, I woke up and he was finishing the video. I'm going to download it later and then watch the video on my TV, or I can watch it on my big screen TV. Derek, I don't mean to, when I say I fell asleep, I don't mean to find you boring. There's lots of videos that, like Y-Files, and your heart starts pounding. AV After Dark. Oh, there's 3 or 4 of those the ghost ones that I'll just listen to as I go to sleep here on YouTube. I don't find them boring. I find them interesting, but still, I'm sleeping. Want to go to sleep? Okay, ciao. Das Leben ist nicht einfach. Life is not simple. Auf Wiedersehen for that one special chick. Leben Sie wohl.